we have a
are
quorum?
on virtually.
Okay. All right, so we call this meeting to order. Certification of compliance with open meeting law, are we okay with that? Okay, pledge of allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America,
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Public comments, is there anybody that would like to speak? Yes, state your name, please.
Chris Treeland-Newman, and I am, I'm sorry, Chris Treeland-Newman. I'm here on behalf of the Sawyer County Snowmobile and ATV Alliance. And I've been working with Greg in Forestry for the last couple of years, and I would just like to express a big thank you to Greg and his staff for the work that we've gotten done over this last year. It's been a good year, and we've made some good progress, and all of us at the Alliance appreciate everyone's help and work on it, so thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else want to speak in the public comment? If not, minutes from the previous meeting, I need a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second? I'll second it. We have a motion and a second to approve the previous minutes from the last meeting. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Are they hearing
I hope so.
us? Usually Bruce has something to say.
Yeah.
I hear you loud and clear.
Okay. Sawyer County Treasurer's Department. No one's here. Land Records and County Surveyor Department report. Dan, what do you got for us?
I guess the biggest thing is our real property lister in Levon is retiring first of the year, so we've had the new real property lister, Rachel Thompson, working, doing all the tax bills and sending them out, and she's doing fine. A couple of glitches, but we're almost done. She's working on the Village Excellent today. She still has Town of Spider Lake, Town of Weirgore, and the Village of Radisson to do, and other than that, everything's been fine and sent out. She should be done either this week or Monday or so. Everything worked fine. Survey crews working on projects in Draper, Winter, and Coudray. I've been working on 2021, 22 land information grant. I have to get that out before the end of the month. We had a land information council meeting yesterday to approve what we've been doing. We've got the new, we had a 2015, or excuse me, 2020 air photo flight. The last one was 2015. We finally got all that data in, all the photos in the last couple of weeks. My one survey crew guy and the GIS guy are checking, doing quality control on them, and we'll make final payment and everything looks good on them. So that should be available in the next couple of weeks here online. That's it, except for a bunch of addressing problems, because we got a lot of new people moving to the county and a lot of people building, and it takes time to deal with all the little messes of that.
Okay. All right, committee, you got any questions for Dan? Okay, thanks, Dan.
Yep.
All right, Sawyer County Forestry Department, Greg, you're up.
Yep, okay, we have chapter 800 for the 15-year plan that I'm looking to have approval to release to the public for a 30-day review and comment period. This is our chapter on integrated resource management. Where we sit right now, this is the last actual chapter that we have in the plan. We have two more chapters, chapter 1000 and 2000, which is 1,000 is the appendix, which is all of the backing documents. And then chapter 2,000 is a chapter on reports and planning and things like that. So we're a little bit behind, but we can go into next year, no problem. We've got approval from the DNR. We'll be under the existing plan until we get through the approval and the final public comment process. But also I have a few public comments in that are attached from our previous chapters. So we'll probably have for January, February, we'll probably be close to the final draft that we would submit to County Board for approval and on the DNR.
I've read what you put out there, and it seems fine to me. I don't know. Anybody, other committee want any questions for Greg or what? Bruce?
Is that muted?
Does it show me?
What about Helby? As long as they're under it, we're still within warrant, right?
Can you promote him to a panelist? If he's just as a member, he may not be able to talk because he may be muted by the host.
But in the meantime, for chapter 900 and a little bit of 700, that's access, and then our recreation portion, I know the Snowbelt ATV Alliance has some comments that they are going to submit yet. They're going to be meeting next week with their committee, so we're still gathering comments to include. So
Can you guys hear me now?
We hear you now, Mr. Paulson.
All right, thank you for letting me speak. I'm done.
Greg just went over the chapter 800 to send it out.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions or you want to talk to him about? Go ahead.
No, I heard all of that part. I just wasn't able to talk. I'll go over Greg's chapter 800 this week and get him my comments.
Okay. I went over what he had, and to me, I'm okay with what he's got to put out there. So I don't know how many other ones read it. So anybody else got any questions for Greg on this committee? So now, Greg, you want an approval to send this out for.
Yep.
Okay. All right, we need a motion to approve this, to send it out for review for public comment.
I'll move to do so.
Okay,
I'll second that.
we have a motion and a second on the floor to send it out. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Outdoor recreation plan draft review and plan schedule.
yep, this is tied to our 15-year plan. It's an inclusion in there. But this is the plan that we put together so we're eligible to apply for state and federal grants. We're going to have a draft. Our first draft of that will be in January. We have March of next year is our deadline to have that plan submitted to DNR. So we've got a couple months to get our draft through and public comments on that. So we've looked at trying to get all the info from all the municipalities, school districts for inclusion in this plan. So we'll have our draft in January, and February we'll probably put up for public comment and hope for approval at the March board meeting to submit to the state. So
Okay.
that's where we're at on that one.
All right. Any questions on that, committee? Any comment? Good, thank you. Number C, timber sale extension policy revision.
Yeah, I've got a handout with this, a little bit of information, but due to the market conditions with the pandemic and the shutdown of the Verso mills in Rapids and Duluth, I'm getting a lot of requests from our contractors to get some kind of relief or some kind of assistance from the county. If you look back at our bid opening in November, we had 7 or 8 mixed hardwood pulp sales that we didn't get any bids on. So, and I just got word yesterday that the Northwest Hardwoods sawmill in Dorchester, Wisconsin filed for bankruptcy sometime last week. So they've had a couple of sales of ours, but it's another outlet for our contractors. So the market's not in real good shape. So the proposal that I'm proposing would be a 1-year sale extension without increase for all of our timber sales that we have on the books right now. With the number of contractors that are asking for this, I think they are in a very, very tight spot. I've got a breakdown of what we have for value on file and what the impact is right now. And also, we have a copy of our existing extension policy, if you want me to go over that real quick. But I think it's something we have to do. The total budget impact could possibly be just a little over $200,000 if we don't grant the extension. So that's there's a number of sales that would have a 10% increase. There's a number of sales that would have a 15% increase. So it seems like a big number that we might not capture, but our risk of this is I think a lot of these sales that they're going to walk from, and we're going to end up taking the sales back. And at that point, we've got a 10% bond that we would probably confiscate for reestablishing it. But the risk is if we resell these sales, we're not going to get probably anywhere close to what we have for price on the books right now, if we sell them at all.
So your recommendation is to let them go for a year?
Yep, give them an extra year.
For a year?
Yep, without the increase.
Without the increase? Okay.
Generally, we're pretty hard on the contract requirements, but this is pretty unprecedented. I think we're going to lose contractors, if we don't do something. And we're not the only county. A lot of them around us have done a similar policy. The state's done a similar policy. So,
okay. Yeah, we don't want to lose what we have.
right.
Bruce or Kelly, Mark, do you have any questions for Greg on this?
No, I don't.
I don't have any questions.
Jesse?
Yeah, what's the current policy, the current extension policy? What is, you could just summarize that?
Yeah, the current policy, we have a 2-year contract. We have it broke out into 4 years. It's a little bit confusing language, but we have a 1-year contract, and then for their second year, they get an extension without an increase. So basically 2 years at the same price. So if they have to go to the 3rd year extension, then we assess a 10% increase on stumpage. And if we go to the 4th year, that's a 15% increase on stumpage. So, and it's a 4-year, generally a maximum contract window.
Okay, so would this proposal then increase that to a 5-year, giving them that 3rd year? What you're saying is giving them that 3rd year with no penalties or interest increases. So then would that then just move forward to a 4th year at 10% and the 5th year at 15%?
Yeah, it would give them an additional year. It's just a free extension across the board. So some of them would go 5 years. A lot of them that we just sold, the prices that they're at right now, they're not going to sit on them much. So.
Okay. Can we only do this in 1-year increments, or could we discuss like a 6-month proposal, or is that?
I mean, we could, and the way we're set right now, it's on a year. That's just how we do it. But I mean, we can shorten it, we can revisit it. The market's in constant flux right now.
Right, and it might be in a year or 2 years or 3 years. I mean, I don't know. I'm not fully convinced that we should just go ahead and grant another 1-year extension with, I understand the current situation, and you use words like unprecedented, but I mean, we've been in this situation now for 9 months, and the country just approved a vaccine. You know, I'm assuming you're talking about the COVID crisis. So, I mean, I think things might be turning around here quicker than a lot of people anticipate.
Hopefully, you know, the Verso mill is the big catch on this, you know, is some of the stuff I've read about that. And they're not looking at restarting that anytime soon. I mean, that's a whole other issue tied in, is that was failing before we got to the pandemic with it. But I agree with your point.
So what do you need from us? Do you need us to vote on that, make a motion and then vote on that? Is that what you need?
He's looking for a motion to do the 1-year extension. So, Bruce, Mark,
What?
are you guys okay with the 1 year?
Yeah, I'll make a motion for the 1-year extension.
I'll
I would
second that.
also say that it should lapse after the end of 12 months.
Okay, yep, I agree with that. So we have a motion. Mark, did you second that?
Yes, I did.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor to extend the policy revision for timber sales to 1 year. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right, recreational trails report. Motorized, Mr. Marotek.
Sir, actually, just short and sweet. No snow out there, so nobody's out snowmobiling yet, and the ATVs have slowed way down right now, so nothing much going on in our world.
So the trails that you guys, everybody was fixing, how's that going?
It's going, we hired an outside brusher to come in, company to come in and do brushing, been doing a bunch of that, getting that done, filling in some of the washouts and that, so.
So that's going
coming.
good.
It's an ongoing thing, because it seems right after you get something fixed, and we get a big rainfall again.
Oh, yeah. I was just wondering, because I haven't been on the trails for a while, so I don't know. I just know that we were fixing them and this and that, so. Okay, anybody got any questions for Mr. Marotek? Thank you. Non-motorized? See nobody? County forest report.
Yeah, real quick, we had 13 sales listed as active in November. These are primarily aspen sales. We're burning through a lot of that acreage we have sold right now. That's what's really keeping us afloat here. We had 7 sales closed out. Sale value that's sold and uncut on file right now is a little over $4 million. Sale revenue for November was $284,000. So our year-to-date gross timber sale revenue is just under 1.9, so we're at 1,866. Sale revenue billed out right now is at 182,000. So the way things are holding right now, we're likely hit 2 million for sale revenue this year if everything keeps going for the month here. So we're going to hit budget, and we'll probably go over a little bit. So we're doing actually really well, considering everything that's going on in the economic world right now. But this is primarily all our aspen sales. The hardwood is just not, I mean, we have hardwood on almost every sale we have, but a lot of it, they're just backing up and leaving it sit for now till market opens up for it. So aspen's key. So sale inspections for the month, we're on target there. No new tracks established. It's all, at this point, we're just doing field work. Conditions are really good right now. Actually, for logging, this is about ideal for a setup for frozen conditions and no snow right now. So that's the one thing that's going well for us at this point. So recon, we're also on target there to hit our goal for the year. Good Neighbor Authority, we had a little bit of hours put in. November is always a short month for us with everything going on with deer season and everything. But other than that, really don't have anything else to report. We did have another big culvert blowout onto Tuscobia, east of Draper. I think it's a multiple offender. Also a beaver issue. Yeah, and we got that fixed with Snowmobile ATV Alliance coordinated to work with a local contractor, but we're still going back and forth with the state and the Alliance and us trying to figure out a solution to all the beaver issues, so.
Yeah, and when I was reading that plan earlier, do we have a lot of problem with beaver flooding our county forest lands
In places, yeah.
places?
Yeah, it's the places that we're seeing them right now. It just, I've never ever seen them before. So it's ridiculous what's going on out there. So
Yeah, I know in my township, I'm constantly trapping, having somebody come in here and trap beaver.
Yeah.
If you don't take care of them, boy, they do a lot of damage, especially if you got high water and culverts.
Yeah.
They'll take that culvert right out. And if you get a lot of rain, right now it ain't so bad, but they're a pain.
yeah, we've been pulling our hair out all year with the trail stuff and just forest roads in general. So
Okay, guys, got any questions for Greg, committee?
Nope.
Nothing from me, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Greg. Zoning Conservation Department. Jay on there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, Jay.
Yeah, so last month we had a discussion for the Perch Lake Fishing Association and dealing with the high water issues there. We did have some audio issues last month in that those that were wanting to kind of give some testimony and make some comments didn't, I guess, necessarily have the opportunity to do so. I did have a discussion with Jim Osteen. We did have a discussion about the engineering report, which you do have here still in front of you today. In that the county needed to perform that engineer study in lieu of some of the accusations that were stated for the County Highway B reroute project that had potentially caused some of that high water. Through that engineering report, somewhat determines that the county really wasn't at fault, and that even in the conversation that I had with Jim Osteen at that time, he had somewhat agreed to that fact, and that there may have been some additional filling through an area called the Perch Lake Finger that may have altered some of that water course. Conversations that I had had with him at that point then switched as to how do we potentially still resolve this high water issue. For the county to fund a project to look into this is going to be a pretty high financial endeavor to take on, and that is where conversation had somewhat stopped as to what is all going to be needed to do this, and where is that funding going to come from. And I do have some additional documentation included as the second attachment there after the PLFA letter, as far as my contact at the DNR, Keith Patrick, and what some of those steps would be needed in order to take on either a discharge, a diversion canal, if you will, or a siphoning project. And it almost seems like the siphoning project might be a less expensive, shorter alternative route. But again, at that point, I kind of passed that homework assignment on to Perch Lake as to what steps are needed to be taken in order to move any type of projects forward. And again, kind of leaving it open-ended as to who's going to fund said projects.
We have Mr. Osteen on virtual. I'm going to give him a chance to speak.
While we're waiting, I want to ask Jay a question.
Go ahead, Mark.
Jay, I'm guessing, is this a county responsibility?
That's somewhat a loaded question. I mean, does the county have a responsibility to, protect its citizens and protect property values of its citizens? I would say yes, there's probably some, county necessity towards that. In the other aspect, though, it's not an issue that was caused by the county, nor is it a control structure such as a dam in which the county operates. So, I mean, there's several county-owned dams, and when maintenance comes along for those dams, we've used our resource development funds to fix and mitigate those said projects. This is not a project we've had earmarked for those said funds. So again, that's where that kind of loaded question comes into place there.
I have to say, as a loaded question, you answered it rather well, Jay. Thanks.
Thank you. And Jim, if you can hear us, I know you had muted yourself earlier in the meeting, lower left-hand box, so you'll have to unmute yourself again. Or
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Thank you very much. We put in a statement to your last meeting, and that statement still stands. We also provided a second statement to you for this meeting. And basically, we're asking you to keep some following facts in mind as we deliberate on the Perch Lake problem. The Perch Lake high water problem threatens landowners not only of Perch Lake, but Barber Lake, Barber Creek, and the Bruni River. The high water problem is not going away without an outlet from Perch Lake. It is critical that we work quickly to resolve it before many properties are flooded and the lake is contaminated from septic systems. In July of 2020, Perch Lake rose more than a foot in 2 weeks. In the short term, the lake fluctuates up and down a few inches with rainfall. In the long term, Perch Lake water is steadily rising. Over the last 6 years, the lake has cumulatively risen on average 1 foot per year. A lake level is now 3 to 4 feet above the historic high lake level. On its website, the Wisconsin DNR states that Wisconsin precipitation has increased in recent years, and it predicts that precipitation will continue to increase in the future. So the Perch Lake level problem is not going to go away. The lake will continue to rise. If nothing is done, water will flood many properties on Perch Lake and overflow the south shore of Perch Lake, flow under and over County B, and flow down into Barber Lake. This is documented in the Sawyer County's recent hydrologic study that shows the lake is now only 2.8 feet from overflow. Perch Lake and Barber Lake owners, County Highway B, Malm Road, will be impacted. Many Perch Lake properties will be flooded, making them worthless. Septic systems will be flooded, which could contaminate Perch Lake and Barber Lakes. This will negatively impact the economy and the tax base in this part of the county. Unlike many lakes, Perch Lake's problem is fixable with a permanent outlet to Barber Lake. Delay is not an acceptable option. The problem gets worse and the damages increase exponentially the longer the delay. Sawyer County must act now to prevent significant impacts to Perch Lake and Barber Lake. Sawyer County must take a leadership role in protecting its citizens, health, property, and its roads. The PLFA looks forward to working with you in resolving this issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir, did you want to comment on anything on this before we move on here?
Well, just to reinforce what Jim said, I'm Paul Fritz. I am one of the team members with Jim Osteen on the High Water Task Force. And just to point out that we have an opportunity to fix this problem before it spreads. And the opportunity is a fairly simple and elegant solution. We're fortunate that Perch Lake's elevation is some 25 feet above Barber Lake's elevation. There is good flow or drainage out of Barber Lake through Barber Creek. The water that would transfer from Perch Lake to Barber Lake would have no impact virtually on Barber Lake properties, nor on the dam, the Barber Lake Dam, nor on the creek, if it is done in a controlled manner. So it would just again say the project could be defined as we need to lower the Perch Lake level, install some type of water transfer system to Barber Lake and provide a flow control system that would not cause problems to Barber Lake when we have a large rainfall. We get a 5-inch rainfall, we don't want to be flooding 5 inches of rainfall into Barber Lake. We want to do it at, our proposal would be about a 1/4 inch equivalent rainfall per day. We're here, or we're proposing this because we believe we need your help. And that's our proposal.
Okay. Mr. Hawk, you want to put anything, input on this?
Just a comment on, as we discussed last month, this is a seepage lake. There was theoretically, supposedly an outlet many, many years ago. The allegations were that when the county redid County B, that somehow impacted that flow of water out of Perch Lake. But through the study, it is determined that the rerouting of Highway B did have nothing to do with the current problem. It's more likely that the property through which water may have flowed out had been, different landscaping done on that property, perhaps, that affected any outflow. So as you talk about, county responsibility, it wasn't the fault of the county that Highway B caused any problem. But looking at a solution, should the county taxpayers fund a major project caused by a property owner on the lake who wanted to improve his property, if that was the case. So, there's a couple different factors that you can weigh. Obviously, the board and committee can look at options and do what they may, but that's my comment today, I guess.
Thank you. Mr. Paulson, Mr. Helwig, yes, you got any comment?
I've had a couple of questions. I mean, Jay, how many seepage lakes are there in the county?
I don't know that off the top of my head. We have, over 300 named lakes in the county, 500 if you include the unnamed lakes. I would say at least half of those are probably seepage bodies of water less than an acre.
Right. And if we do something for one lake, are we going to just open the floodgates and every other lake with a problem like this is going to ask for the county's money?
That is a very good question. Yeah, I mean, I would think that that's somewhat precedent setting at that point. So
right. And isn't the DNR the controlling factor on this problem? I mean, they have to approve everything that we do or is done. Is that true?
That is true to an extent. In my conversation with Keith Patrick at the DNR, in order to get the proper permitting to do said discharge really isn't a huge uphill battle. I have included some of that, that checklist, or at least the permitting process as a separate attachment here on the agenda, as far as moving forward with that type of project. Now, one of the big determining factors, is doing kind of that, water volumetric analysis. And, if you're introducing, X cubic feet of water into Barber or into Island, are those existing control structures, AKA the dams on there, are they able to handle that additional input of water? That's kind of one of the bigger, at least ticket items financially in determining that factor.
Hey, Jay, I got a couple questions. First of all, you can answer them at the same time. What do you think of their proposal? And also, has anybody actually looked into the cost of this repair, if you want to call it that?
Yeah, I don't know if I necessarily feel comfortable with answering your first question. That's really something that needs to be decided by, the committees of jurisdiction, because, I mean, if you want to, fund said project, that's a, expensive item, and whether or not the county has the resources available to take on that endeavor or not. I don't know what that amount would be. I would think you're easily into the $250,000 range without really batting an eye, just to get the study work done, not even necessarily the implementation of a siphoning and or diversion canal device. Is there still a problem that looms out there? Yes. I mean, I've seen it as well. There's no denying that water elevation in Perch Lake has risen significantly over the last several years. That being said, we could potentially go down the road where we spend $200,000, $300,000, $500,000 to fix this issue. And lo and behold, we slide into more of a drought cycle again. And now we've spent all this money and we've never got a drop of water to flow out of Perch Lake because, those water levels had kind of ceased to rise. So it's, do you put the cart in front of the horse? It's a tough decision to make, because as Mr. Osteen had said before, if nothing is done and becomes too late, well, now you're behind the 8 ball and you're scrambling to, try to mitigate an already overwhelming loss of property value. And in the forerun, or in the front part, you're spending a bunch of money where it isn't at a critical level yet. So that's the tough decisions. And I'm glad that I'm not on the side that you're on, is making those decisions.
Jay, this is Bruce. I've got a question for you. Can you expand a little bit about one of the property owners possibly causing some of the problem?
Yeah, and I'm not entirely 100% sure if that was the case or not. Looking at some of the old historic photos, we refer to what is known as that Perch Lake finger. It's kind of this small little bay. I don't want to call it an outlaw, but it's a small little bay towards the southwest corner of Perch Lake. And if you look kind of back at those old historic aerial images, you can see that bay finger actually moved a little bit further back into the lake. So you almost start to, have the hypothesis that, maybe someone had done some, refilling of that small little finger over time, and ended up kind of sealing off any type of little outlet that would have eventually got closer to Highway B, that would have gone under Highway B. But there's, again, no 100% certainty that anything like that had occurred. I guess you would have to, rehab, the engineer company do more of a, soil hydrology analysis to see if that was fill material that was established there. But again, even if that, property owner back in the 60s, 70s, somewhere in that era, if they had filled that in, it's certainly not the same property owner that has it now. So, I don't know what kind of, recourse or anything could be done at that point for something that had occurred 40 to 50 years ago.
Okay, hang on a minute. Mr. Betcher has a question or wants to speak. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I mean, I want it to be known that we are, in fact, sympathetic with the residents of First Lake, and we don't want to appear like we're not. We're just trying to push this aside. I mean, we do. We've discussed this a lot, and we've done a lot of research and studies on it. So we are, trying to help. But at the same time, as has been brought up, this was possibly the result of a property owner from 50, 60 years ago, but more likely an act of God that's creating this water level to rise, whether it's from underground springs rising it or just the precipitation. But, as Jay said, if we have 200 of these seepage lakes in the county, then are we going to have to do this for every one? So we don't want to appear like we don't care and unsympathetic, because we do care. But I just don't know if it's at this point the county's responsibility to, spend hundreds of thousands, potentially millions of dollars to fix this. I mean, what if it was a giant sinkhole and houses were at risk? Would it be up to the county then to fill in the sinkhole? And, I just think that unfortunately, this is why, we have insurance. And again, I'm not trying to downplay this and just push it under the rug, but I just don't know that we're at a position yet to where we need to go in and spend millions of dollars on this one seepage lake. That's all.
And I agree with all that, and I mean, it's something that we need to still look into here and not just jump right into this. We just need to be digging more into this, and we still have court counsel working on this, Mr. Humphrey, or no?
Well, as Mr. Betcher said, we have insurance, and with the threat of litigation and, county involvement, we have notified our insurance company and have been working with them to see what our potential responses can be.
Any more question on this or comment?
And one other comment I'd like to make, that there is another, option out there for, the financial aspect of it. We talked about and we hinted about a little bit on, our dam projects of the future. And this is a route that some other counties have gone. This would be something we'd have to work close with the Treasurer's Department on something. But if Perch Lake, which now is I don't even know if it's recognized as a lake association, but is the Perch Lake Fishing Association, if they were to form what is known as a lake district, which I'm not sure of all the schematics as to how that individual body of water forms a lake district, but other counties then is once they form a lake district, they can do a special assessment to those individuals of that lake district. So in essence, the county could pay the upfront cost, be it, let's say, a $200,000 bill, but then the county could assess those individuals that are part of that Perch Lake District. They could assess them $100 extra a year over the course of however many years it would take to recoup those costs. Again, I'm not sure the 100% route of the schematics is how that works, but I know other counties have taken on that endeavor when you start talking about $500,000, $1 million dam replacement projects. So that might be one other thing to look at, where the county isn't having to eat the entire aspect of that amount, but it's a way that we can assist in divvying up the cost of that project specifically to that lake district.
Okay.
Could I comment?
Yes, quickly, sir.
We are familiar with the taxation district concept. We have talked to people who are on another lake who have.
Please speak up.
Can you sit right up
Okay.
by the microphone?
We are familiar with the taxation district concept. We have talked with people on another lake in Wisconsin who have gone through that. I just might comment that the cost of any of these projects, whether it be siphon or some type of overflow system, I don't think we're talking millions of dollars. I costed out the cost of a siphon. The material cost is about $6,000 to go to Island Lake. It would be more to go to Barber Lake, but I think we're talking relative orders of magnitude less money. I think we could come up with ways to finance it. I think we would be willing to do that as property owners. So what we're looking for is help in pulling all of this together, because it does take a coordinated effort of the property owners, the Lake Association, the DNR, the county. All of the different elements are involved. And so really, we're looking for help. And really, that's what I want to say.
Thanks.
Can I add one thought to that? I just want to emphasize, it's not just damage to the property owners on Purse Lake and potentially on the property owners to Barber Lake. It's also Highway County B. If you look at the study that you had just received, it's clear that water's going to run up on B. It's going to run down toward the intersection with Mom and Perch Lake Road and probably flood that intersection as well. So it's also protecting the highway and the transit in that area.
Thank you. Any more discussion?
This is Bruce. Just precisely, what are you asking for? You asking for the county to take a role in being the lead and coordinate everything, or what precisely are you asking for?
Yes, we're asking the county to take a leadership role in this. It involves several lakes. Obviously, people on the other lake are not particularly happy with the idea of getting water, but they're going to get the water eventually if it does overflow. The county, I think, has the abilities, and we're certainly willing to work with the county in doing that, of pulling a project like this together. And we'd certainly want to look at, the funding criteria of whether there can be shared funding where the lake owners pay a certain portion and the county pays a certain portion. But we need to move forward very quickly to get some studies done to make sure that it is, we satisfy what the Department of Natural Resources is saying about, the water flow. And again, we would want a system that would be designed so the water flow would be slow and not damage any people on the further downstream.
Okay.
Jay, I'll ask you this question. Do we need just a work plan? You and the Perch Lake folks put together jointly a work plan and bring it back to the committee?
Yeah, and we can, certainly, get something, kind of in writing or on paper as the steps needed. But again, I think it really comes down to, even if we have a well-detailed checklist of what needs to occur in order to do this, is, again, who's paying for that? It's obviously not going to be a free endeavor. You're talking about some engineer study work that needs to occur. Is that something that the county is going to want to pay for? But again, I can kind of get a more comprehensive checklist of the steps that will be needed. But again, at the end of the day, it comes down to the almighty dollar.
Yeah.
Hey, excuse me. Yeah, and the gentleman that's in the room there said something about $6,000, and I know Jay had mentioned a quite higher number, and I can't believe that it's going to be anywhere near the 6,000. I think it'd be much higher, like Jay said, because of the engineering. We have, and there's so much that goes into this.
Well, the $6,000 was for a temporary plastic piping system that would be laid above ground. That was a siphon system. And again, to a shorter route going to Island Lake, and that we would self-install it, not pay a contractor to install it. Fairly simple solution, fairly simple system. But I just put that number out there just to give you an idea of the orders of magnitude cost. I can't see this thing getting up into the millions of dollars. It's a fairly simple project, a fairly easy project. It's a culvert, it's a flow system with some weirs. And so I like the idea of putting together a work plan and a checklist of things that have to be done. And we would certainly participate in that.
Yeah, and what I'm listening to everybody say here is the almighty dollar. And the way I'm taking this is they want the county to foot the bill, and I don't think that's up to us to do that. I think this needs to be more work put together something so we can take a look at it. But like Jay said, it's gonna cost, and
Turn it down.
I don't, what I'm hearing is every, thinks the county's gonna put the bill to take a look at this, and we shouldn't have to do that, so. That's just my comment on this.
And I can try to talk with our engineer that had done the first study here from SEH, Brad Wozniak. I can try to pick his brain about even, slightly remote cost estimates. The $6,000 for the actual siphoning system, that might be accurate if there's, not contractors involved. If it becomes a county endeavor, is that something that needs to then be priced out for bids? I would think per our purchasing policy, the answer would be yes. Again, though, that $6,000 doesn't entail the actual study work that needs to be done. That's just the system install cost. But I will try to work with the PLFA as far as getting a work plan together, as far as, bringing it back to this committee. As well as potential some more hard cost estimate figures. We can kind of move forward with that.
Okay. Guess you got any more comments? Okay. Any more discussion? Okay, if not, we're gonna move on to county report.
Yeah, the Conservation Department update. The Nelson Lake drawdown is at its final stage, been lowered actually right at 4 feet. We're going to do some stop log replacements that we found that some of those logs are starting to get a little warped, getting pretty old. So we want to get a couple new ones in there, as well as a steel cable replacement for lowering and raising and lowering those stop logs. We have 2 county cost share projects that are currently being installed as well. Those are the forms of erosion control on lakes that are seeing a kind of a sloughing off of the bank. 8 on-site inspections were conducted by the Assistant Conservation Administrator, Tim Seidel. 4 of those projects were also potentially eligible for allocated cost share funds through DATCAP. He's also continuing design work through other barnyard projects and other restoration projects. 10 on-site inspections by Kelly Nahuda for shoreline mitigation compliance checks. We are doing the continuation of other compliance checks and dam inspections on the other county-owned dams. Our tree sale is now live and is being conducted online this year. First time we went to kind of an online database for the tree sale ordering. I currently have Kelly Nahuda right now working on a flyer that we're going to be giving out to all county employees as well as county supervisors. So you'll probably be seeing that email here either later today or tomorrow. And that's, certainly something to check out if you're interested in purchasing any additional trees for your property. Really great program. And I personally have taken advantage of that program the last few years. The trees that we got last year were incredible. I mean, you're talking, 2 to 3 foot high, pine trees or spruce trees that cost you $2. That's ridiculously inexpensive for those sizes of trees. So she's also working on youth poster contest for the land, water, environmental awareness. We have more teachers asking about this year for the requirements, which is great. I'm sure a lot of teachers are struggling for some type of virtual or remote projects that they can give their students. And this kind of works out well for that. We're certainly running through some of our database softwares and updating our errors for our sewer system database. And we're also starting the process of the 5-year conservation plan update, which will be due in April of 2021. So we'll be working on that the next few months, and this committee will be seeing that here in the next few as well.
Jay, this is Bruce. One question on the shoreline mitigation compliance checks.
Yes.
I thought that the state took away a lot of our options on shoreline mitigation and things like that. What are we doing?
Yeah, so they did take away quite a bit of those options. I mean, before Sawyer County was operating that anytime you took out a land use permit for any project on shoreline property, you had to agree to a shoreline vegetation protection area. since 2015. That was taken away through the signing of the state budget bill at that time. But there are still certain projects that require mitigation. If you are to go over the 15% impervious surface threshold, you still need to perform some type of mitigation per a checklist that we have, where you need to do certain aspects of mitigation in order to go up to a higher percent of impervious surface. So we are doing those compliance checks for that. As well as a couple other projects that require mitigation. Specifically, the one that we see quite often is the 200 square foot lateral expansion. When you have an existing non-conforming structure inside of 75 feet from the water, you're still allowed to do a 200 square foot expansion no closer to the water than the existing structure. But by doing that type of project requires mitigation still. So those are kind of the aspects that the state still allows and also requires mitigation. But yeah, from a holistic approach, from what we had been doing, yeah, we've been stripped quite a bit in those buffer zone requirements.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any more questions for Jay? Okay, if not, we'll move on. USDA report. Just how come we're not getting him? Yeah, I mean, we had him on before. He never showed up. Now they put him back on and still show up.
And I did just hear back from the LCO rep.
Yeah.
Yesterday on who I need to contact, so I'll be
Okay, all right.
forwarding them the information for now.
Okay, so I wonder if we shouldn't turn this one over to Tweed. Shouldn't he handle that now? That guy's not showing up.
Yep, I'll talk to him.
Okay. I mean, it's the last three now, he hasn't been here. So, okay. And we have no LCO report. Other topics for discussion? None? Future topics?
Yeah, I just want to thank you for taking over from me. And I'll probably have to do it next month as well.
Well, that's not a problem, Mr. Paulson. I'm just filling some big shoes.
Oh.
No, it's not a problem, Bruce.
Thank you.
No. Okay, future topics, none. We're adjourned.
Thank you all. Have a good day.
How you doing?